Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Why, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. Hey, happy Post-Monday celebration. Greatest day of the entire week. We are setting that tone again for another one. Greatest day for sure as we move through further into the fall season. And I say fall season with air quotes because apparently it's still hot across most of the nation, and that's totally not okay. But there's a lot to talk about. We have government shutdown news information going on. We still have the peace deal that is clinging on for at least day number 2 in the Middle East, at least in some aspect. We will break some of that down here in just a bit. Also, Michael Johnson will be on the program. He is president of the Slavic Gospel Association. We'll be chatting with him about the Ukraine-Russia conflict and the number of children, orphans, teenagers that have gone missing since the conflict over the past few years in Ukraine that have been moved to Russia. And we have slave trade going on. We have sex trade going on. We have teenagers and children that are just missing altogether. What the heck's going on and what can we do about that issue? So going to be a tough conversation at the bottom of the hour for that, but we will get to all that and more as we do our thing.
Do it live!
Like we do here on the program every single day. If you want to find more information, you are more than welcome to do so at HoosierReason.com, HOOSER Reason.com. Our podcast, which, by the way, thank you. Holy cow, man. I don't know where you're coming from, but we are gaining new followers on the podcast every single day, and it is super awesome to see, so thank you for that. You can find us on any of your favorite podcasting websites at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. Follow that, and you can see all of these programs that we upload after the radio show. I don't want to waste any time.
What's trending today?
Because happening right now, I want to go live to Washington, D.C. President Trump, now that he is officially back from his Middle East peace deal and signing all those treaties, he is currently speaking live at the Charlie Kirk Medal of Freedom ceremony. Charlie Kirk's birthday would have been today, turning 32 years old after everything that happened yesterday, and this is the day of remembrance and the day of activism that we've now deemed for this nation. President Trump is still speaking live, so let's go to that for just a moment here, shall we? Would
have been a different kind of a thing if they did what they were supposed to do. We had to break in. We broke in and had the water come down. They said for the environment, it's great. They lost 25,000 houses. It's incredible. But the commissioner said without the federal government and President Trump's intervention, we would have lost the entire city. And we have the Olympics going there soon. I got the Olympics. We have the Olympics. We have the World Cup. And we have, most importantly, we have the 250th anniversary of our country. That's going to be most important. And all of these things are happening. And we're going to have safe cities. We're going to have very, very safe cities. So 1 month after Charlie's death, we still feel the terrible shock and the pain of his loss, like just about nobody I can think of. Charlie Kirk was one of a kind. He was unstoppable. And he really was. Boy, when he had an idea in his head, he would call me, "Sir, please, you haven't done it yet." I said, "Charlie, relax. Just relax." He didn't relax. He'd call me the next day again. It got it done. But he was like indomitable and always will be. He's really irreplaceable. Nobody going to replace him. But they're going to do great. But you can't replace that kind of person and that kind of talent, frankly. The word talent is an important word, but that kind of talent. So we hold his memory in our hearts forever. Every single day of this administration, we will continue to carry out the mission for which he lived, and he really did. He lived for this country. He lived for his wife and his family, but he lived for this country too. In Charlie's honor, we will continue like we have been to fight, 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 and to win, win, win. We're going to win so much. So the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a big deal. You have the Congressional Medal of Honor, military, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is civilian. And the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a really big deal. Very few people get it. Very few people, frankly, qualify. It's a decision of the president, but it's a qualification that's a very hard one to get. And I would like to ask, if I might, the military aide to read Charles James Kirk's citation for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so the military coming out right beside the president, making the speech for the Presidential Medal of Freedom as they give the official award.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to Charles James Kirk. Accepting on behalf of Charlie is his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk was one of the most influential American political figures of his generation. At just 18 years old, he founded Turning Point USA and grew it into the largest conservative youth organization in the nation. For over a decade, he tirelessly traveled the country leading a movement to restore respect for our founding principles, reawaken our national identity, and inspire a renewed spirit of religious devotion. He was one of the great debaters and communicators of his time. Despite receiving repeated threats, he remained undeterred and modeled courage, logic, humor, and grace to the next generation. On September 10th, 2025, at age 31, Charlie Kirk was assassinated while addressing a group of students. The United States honors him as a martyr for truth and freedom.
All right, President Trump handing the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Erica Kirk, who's dressed in black at the ceremony, which, by the way, ceremony being done outside in the Rose Garden. They said there were too many people to go indoors, and they wanted to see the new renovated Rose Garden outside of the White House. Perfect timing for that. We'll go ahead and go away from that. But President Trump officially giving that to Erica Kirk. I was not expecting to get all emotional today. Great. So we knew that today was Charlie Kirk's birthday. It was going to be a tough one already. And can you believe that it's just been over a month since the assassination? The memorials, the remembrances, the tributes, the activism that we've seen in that month has been absolutely astounding. And for us to see this already. Let's go back here. Erica Kirk seems like she'll be speaking for just a moment. Let's go live to this.
Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my husband in such a profound and meaningful way. And thank you for making this event a priority amid the peace process in the Middle East. Thank you. Very grateful. Charlie always admired your commitment to freedom, and that's something that both of you shared. So thank you. Your support of our family and the work that Charlie devoted his life to will be something I cherish forever, so thank you. To our gracious First Lady in her office for making this event possible, thank you as well. It's beautiful. To Vice President and the lovely Usha fans, your friendship has been an unbelievable encouragement. Thank you. And to all our friends and family that are here and watching from all around the world, thank you for loving us. Thank you for praying for us and for believing in what Charlie believed in. And to our Turning Point USA staff and the Charlie Kirk Show staff, we love you more than you could ever know. And to the Turning Point USA chapters that are watching all across America right now, you are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure. It will. And today we're gathered not only to celebrate Charlie's birthday, but to honor a truth that he gave his entire life to defend, and that's freedom. The very existence of the Presidential Medal of Freedom reminds us that the national interest of the United States has always been freedom. Our founders etched it into the preamble of our Constitution, and those words are not relics on parchment. They are a living covenant. The blessings of liberty are not man's invention, they are God's endowment. Charlie lived for those blessings, not as abstract words, but as sacred promises. He used to love to journal about this topic all the time, and with such a heart postured of gratitude. And he believed that liberty was both a right and a responsibility. And he used to say, freedom is the ability to do what is right without fear. And that's how he lived. He was free from fear. He was free from compromise, free from anything that could enslave his soul. His name, Charles, literally means free man. And that's exactly who my husband was. He was a free man.
All right, we're going to step away. Erica Kirk speaking at the White House for the Charlie Kirk Medal of Freedom ceremony. President Donald Trump offering her and officially giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk for his would-be birthday today, turning 32 years old. As we, again, didn't plan on getting all emotional today for the program with individuals listening to something like this, but I want us to walk away again from this being positive, moving in the right direction. As she mentioned, we've seen how many new chapters of Turning Point USA being applied for across the nation with K through 12 higher education. At one point, it was like 70,000. I think it's now like 112,000 we had seen like a few weeks ago. Who knows what it is now? Let's say 120,000 new chapters of K through 12 higher education chapters wanting to start Turning Point USA chapters. That's incredible. That's amazing. That shows that this is the momentum that we have. Democrats, and we'll get to it when we come back from the break. We still have this government shutdown. Hakeem Jeffries trying to really make some type of stance, really trying to get back into the limelight, trying to be, which I don't know why he's the one doing it instead of Chuck Schumer, because the Senate's the one that's not passing the continuing resolution for the government shutdown. But what do bullies do? Bullies have to have attention. That's why they're acting out. That's why bullies are trying to do what they do, which is to gain attention from somebody. When you don't give them that attention, they're entire purpose is essentially irrelevant. What they're doing doesn't matter whatsoever. And right now, Democrats have had zero coverage of their government shutdown, screaming that it's a Donald Trump government shutdown. Why? Because Donald Trump just made one of the biggest peace agreements that we've seen, in my opinion, since the end of World War II with peace in the Middle East. And so far, at least nation to nation, we've been able to uphold that for a day or two now. We're seeing some internal squabbling within Palestine or in the Gaza Strip right now with the government of Hamas wanting to go into a police state. And we have some issues there we'll cover in just a moment. But with aggression against Israel, hasn't happened yet. And vice versa. Then we have something like this, where we're paying attention to Charlie Kirk's memorial. We're paying attention to the activism of the next generation. We're focusing on the youth of America and worried about the brainwashing that we've seen from higher education and from K through 12 that we're starting to focus on and saying, yeah, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. Guess what? The bullies that are desperate to try and get this power and attention, they're not getting it. And it's winning for us. So we'll talk about what this means, but take this in a positive step. We're moving in the right direction, and the reason there's so much outlash about it and so much outspoken protest against it going on right now is because they're angry they're not getting attention.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. When reason meets radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome back into it. Great to have you here for a post-Monday celebration. The ongoing ceremony happening with the Charlie Kirk Medal of Freedom ceremony. President Donald Trump outside the Rose Garden. Erica Kirk still speaking. Let's go live to her again. Why not? It's a exciting day. It's a solemn day, obviously, with the would-be birthday of Charlie Kirk. At the same time, to see the grassroots growth. And again, I make fun of, and we poke fun on the program quite a bit, of the other side of the aisle not having any type of grassroots campaigning. They can't relate to their constituency. Even here in Kansas, where I'm based out of, very few Democrats actually are relatable to their districts at the statewide level, which is really kind of pathetic. And they make some absurd comments for sure. But we are seeing right now the energized growth of the youth of the nation and the youth that are seeing, hey, I'm not allowed to apparently have these political beliefs because I could be harmed. We're seeing Antifa and organized crime movement. We're seeing a lot of money being funneled in to these paid agitators, and it's not looking good for Democrats. And right now, the elected officials, the establishment, the actual organization of the Democrat Party is desperate to get some type of attention, is desperate to try and control some sort of the narrative. And right now, they are failing miserably because President Donald Trump continues to just beat them every step of the way. He still continues to play 3D chess when they're playing checkers, which is really kind of pathetic. So let's go live to Erica Kirk here again, shall we?
No one else, I mean, I saw him do it. No, he never did it in front of anyone else, but I can attest to that. But he also loved people when it was inconvenient. And he ran his race with endurance, and he kept the faith. And now he wears the crown of a righteous martyr. And for me and for our children, the truth really steadies our grief, because heaven gained what earth could no longer contain. A free man made fully free. To all watching, this is not a ceremony. This is a commissioning. And my message is simple. I want you to be the embodiment of this medal. I do. I want you to free yourself from fear. I want you to stand courageously in the truth. Listen for the still, small voice of God. And remember that while freedom is inherited in this country, each of us must be intentional stewards every single day. God began a mighty work through my husband, and I intend to see it through. And the torch is in our hands now. It's in mine, it's in yours, it's in all of yours. It's in all the students with Turning Point USA. And before I close, I'll share with you that I asked our daughter what she would like to say to Daddy for his birthday. Excuse me. She said, "Happy birthday, Daddy. I want to give you a stuffed animal. I want you to eat a cupcake with ice cream, and I want you to go have a birthday surprise. I love you," is what she said. And while our son is precious, he can't yet speak, in classic Kirk family fashion, his actions spoke louder than his words, and his gift to you, Charlie, and myself for that matter, was deciding to become the man of the house and be fully potty trained at 16 months. But Charlie, baby, I know that you're celebrating in heaven today, but gosh, I miss you.
All right. I can't. Erica Kirk, there you go, speaking with the Medal of Freedom ceremony, and very heartfelt. I got to be honest, not really sure how she's doing it, even a month after something like that, how she's able to get out and speak in front of individuals. Very difficult. As someone who speaks for a living, if something, God forbid, happened to Mrs. Voice of Reason, probably wouldn't see me for a very long time. So she has a lot of strength. And God bless the Kirk family.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. Truth, reason, and common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes, you say
because
quickly.
everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
All right, so that's President Donald Trump having his conference. I honestly don't know how he does it. We talked about him being up the entire flight over there and then signing and speaking to the parliament with Israel and then going to Egypt and then signing the peace agreement with all the Middle Eastern nations, all exempting, of course, Iran, and then flying all the way back. And then today he has this meeting with the president of, he was with Argentina talking about what they were doing. He had a cabinet meeting. Then he comes out and speaks here with the Medal of Freedom Award for Charlie Kirk, and he's at that right now as Erica Kirk wraps up her speech. I don't know how the guy does it, but that is an interesting question that was asked with him earlier today on whether they will be disarming themselves. We have seen a headline real quick, and then we'll get to our guest here on the program.
What's trending today?
Is that Hamas is now back in their nation. Now, they have not shown any aggression towards Israel on day number 2 of the peace agreement. However, they are holding and carrying out public executions within their own country. And apparently, according to the story from the New York Post, is they are publicly executing anyone within their region, the Gaza Strip, Palestine, if you have it that way. They are executing anyone who may have collaborated or worked with the nation of Israel, and they're doing any public executions there. So they are not showing any signs of aggression against Israel, but they are essentially genociding their own people who may have stepped out against their government. So I hope that really does resonate with the others that say, you know, from the river to the sea, Israel's bad. Israel's the ones committing genocide against the Palestinian people. Right now, anybody that sided or helped or aided Israel in any way, shape, or form is getting executed publicly in that country. And I guess Donald Trump approved it. They said that they could go in as a police state within their own nation. It's their nation. They can kind of do what they want to. But Donald Trump, I don't think, expected something like that. So who knows how long that will go on before Donald Trump says that's enough. You need to begin disarming yourself. So we'll keep it and monitor that situation. Not very good. However, I guess it's not really breaking at all the peace agreement between the two regions.
What's trending today?
Speaking of, I know it's not necessarily the most positive news out there, but we need to continue on with what's happening. Another region that's still going on with the conflict, with the battle. We're now seeing an escalation between Russia and the Ukraine, as now apparently we're going to be sending some Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine from the United States. That's interesting. If you did miss it, about a week or two ago, First Lady Melania Trump had made an announcement saying that she is now taken upon herself to be working directly with Vladimir Putin and the Russian government to work on trying to bring a ceasefire and then take it to another level, trying to solve the issue of so many children that have been orphaned in Ukraine, teenagers, children that have gone missing, that have now been into the underground black market trade, and Melania Trump making a big focus on that issue.
My representative has been working directly with President Putin's team to ensure the safe reunification of children with their families between Russia and Ukraine. In fact, 8 children have been rejoined with their families during the past 24 hours. Each child has lived in turmoil because of the war in Ukraine. 3 were separated from their parents and displaced to the Russian Federation because of frontline fighting. The other 5 were separated from family members across borders because of the conflict, including one young girl who has now been reunited from Ukraine to Russia.
All right, so that was First Lady Melania Trump. And to talk about that, where are we at with the issue with the orphaned children that are just missing out of Ukraine and what we're doing about that issue? Happy to have on the program. He's the president of the Slavic Gospel Association. Really honored to have on here Mr. Michael Johnson. Michael, how are you, my friend?
Great. It's good to be on your program.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. It is good news that the White House is paying attention to this issue. I know you guys obviously have been paying attention and monitoring this issue, but is it getting any better? The conflict seems like to be escalating now, and more children are just disappearing. This is kind of a scary situation that no one's talking about, by the way.
Yeah, it is a difficult situation. For us, we were established in 1934 by a Russian immigrant by the name of Peter Danica. So we were early on, we were active during the dark years of communism, and we were heavily involved in the covert distribution of Bibles throughout those countries. And we also had a Russian language Christian radio program that we broadcast all throughout the former Soviet Union. But when the wall came down, but roughly 30 years ago, we connected with one of the largest groups of evangelical churches. That would be the Baptist churches. They were founded back in the early 1800s, and they've been active for many, many years. But of course, when the communists came in, most of the churches were shut down. So they went through the dark years. There was a lot of persecution, pastors killed, families separated. But when the wall came down, things opened up and freedom came. And so we're connected with roughly 6,000 churches across those countries, Russia as well as the other countries of the former Soviet Unions, through which we have access to do ministry to the people in virtually every single country. So we continue to have significant ministry in Russia, despite the fact that there are sanctions in place by the United States government, but as long as we can get resources in, we can continue to fund the ministries.
Sure.
And it's all done through the churches. In the case of Ukraine, we're connected to roughly 2,800 churches, and there are a lot of people that have suffered and are suffering as a result of the war in that country, particularly in the occupied areas. But through this church network, we continue to have access to minister to them and to address their needs. And in many cases, we've been able to get them out of the war zones, so they have been able to go to safety in other parts of Ukraine or into Eastern Europe. And so we're heavily active through our church network, and we're seeing a lot of fruit as a result of that. Fruit in the sense that people are being ministered to churches. And because of that, many people are coming to faith in Christ, but they're also having their needs met at the same time.
Sure. The Russian government themselves, they tout themselves to being a Christian nation. They tout themselves of having a lot of churches, the church working very closely with the government. If you remember about a year or so ago when Vladimir Putin had his, which was very strange, he never really makes a lot of public appearances, but went to their big stadium. There's a whole bunch of people there and said that God was the one telling him to do this invasion onto Ukraine. We've heard other people say that, it's not necessarily the most religious church. It's more of a political church than anything else that Vladimir Putin aligns with and that kind of runs the Russian government with them. Is that true, or are we making way with actual Christian values and Christian followers in the nation of Russia?
Well, Russia adopted Orthodox Christianity in the 10th century. So, that goes back a long way, many, many years, obviously. But as time went on, they, for all intents and purposes, they missed the impact of the Reformation until, as I mentioned earlier, the Baptist, Protestant, evangelical churches came on the scene, and they were never necessarily directly connected to the government in the way that the Orthodox Church is, but they have been allowed to, with some level of freedom, to be able to preach the gospel and plant churches and then conduct ministry to people within their in their respective countries. And in the case of Russia, we are helping them to conduct a lot of ministry, whether it be orphan ministries or, we sponsored 80,000 children to attend Christian summer camp. There is a certain level of freedom that exists for the non-Orthodox faiths to expand their ministry and evangelistic activities.
Yeah, that is really good news. Let's talk about the children that are being impacted right now, obviously, with the ongoing conflict, causing a lot of orphans, causing a lot of misplaced children, for sure. And from what we've heard statistically, that this is one of the regions right now we're seeing the most number of children just disappear, no account of them, not knowing what's going on. Slave labor, sex trafficking, black market trafficking, whatever's going on here. What's happening and what can we do about this issue?
Well, just about those particular statistics, we developed a program called Orphans Reborn roughly 30 years ago, and that program was established out in Siberia in connection with a number of churches that were ministering to kids growing up in these orphanages out in these very remote areas. And it has expanded throughout Russia as well as the former Soviet countries. And at that time, there was a study that the Soviet government did where they were tracking these young people who, when they grew up and then aged out of the orphanages, they were tracking them to see what happened to them. And roughly, it came back that roughly 97% of them at the time were lost.
Wow.
Prostitution, criminality, suicide. I mean, literally, they had no connection, no family, no nothing, and they were just literally on the street, and many of them would commit suicide because they had absolutely no hope whatsoever. So we established this program in a way that when these kids were dropped off into the orphanages, we support Christian workers from local churches throughout those nations, where they literally go in virtually every week, establish relationships with the kids, conduct Bible studies with them, lead many of them to Christ, and they have a very positive influence on them, so that when on their 18th birthday they force them out of the orphanages, they're embraced by local churches and religious organizations to help them get their life started in a way that is pleasing to God, as opposed to a life of criminality.
That's a great one.
The lives of roughly 80,000 children.
Yeah, that's a great point. Michael, hang on the line. I hate to cut you off. We got to take a hard break here. It's Michael Johnson with the Slavic Gospel Association. We'll continue this when we come back right around the corner for the Voice of Reason. Stay right here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. America's safe space for common sense. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
I'm thankful to President Trump, and I'm thankful to First Lady that they have contact with the First Lady of Ukraine, and for this step. So we're very thankful if First Lady of the United States, she will continue this work. And I understand that there are a lot of challenges in the United States, but God bless. I think this topic is also will be in focus of First Lady and of the United States.
All right, so that's Volodymyr Zelensky from the Ukraine as he's talking about praising Melania Trump trying to work to get these children back that are missing, all the underground trafficking going on with the orphans, with the ongoing conflict between Russia and the Ukraine. So at least he's happy about it. Hopefully we can see some more of these children be found, be recovered, get off the streets, or whatever, God forbid, may be happening to those children. Real quick, want to tell you about my friends over at Americans for Prosperity. As you know, I want you to go to the domain takeonesmallstep.com. Takeonesmallstep.com. We are going into the 250th birthday of this nation, and it's going to be bigly, my friends.
And I think we're going to make it bigly.
And Donald Trump's excited about it. An entire year worth of celebration from what he says that's going to happen in Washington, D.C. and across the nation. And we need to know the real history of this country, not the negativity about how horrible our founding fathers were, but about you and I, the average American that rose to the challenge of our time, and all the great Americans that rose to the challenge of their time throughout the entire history of the United States to make America what it is today, to rise to that challenge and to defeat whatever was challenging them at that time, making America great, which it always has been. Go to takeonesmallstep.com, takeonesmallstep.com. By the way, real quick, speaking of Russia, we saw a post on social media from Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, one of our favorite elected officials here on this program, as she has announced with the Transparency Task Force from the House that she is working with the ambassador from Russia to deliver a 350-page document regarding the findings from the Russian government on the JFK assassination files. According to her, we'll be uploading these documents as soon as we receive them and working with others to ensure that the American people have direct access to these documents immediately. It is important to note that Congress attempted to obtain these files in the 90s and were denied. We have been given access to them now for the first time in history. Will we find more information with the ongoing disclosure that we're working on many different fronts? But now with the Russians that had apparently a lot of documentation on JFK's assassination, will we see something different? That will be interesting. I'm still waiting on the Russians to open up about their UFO disclosure, but that's another conversation for another time. Right now we're hanging out with Michael Johnson. He's the president of the Slavic Gospel Association. I hated to cut you off, my friend, as you guys were talking about what you're doing, trying to keep these kids off the streets, these orphans, working with local churches in those areas to where when the orphanages do boot them out at the age of 18 or whatever, that they have a decent foundation to not go down the road of seeing what we're seeing in that region right now. How are the programs working right now, and is it helping a lot of these children be able to help others get out of this system as well?
Well, yeah. The program has been working really good. I mean, the program's been up and running for roughly 30 years.
Good.
And for us, we don't send Western missionaries into these countries. We equip the national churches to do the work. So these are dedicated workers who have a tremendous passion to ministering to these kids, whether they be kids on the streets or kids growing up in orphanages or kids that are in dire need of help. Because we're seeing a growing number of orphans, particularly in the midst of the war, where a lot of the husbands and fathers are being killed, in the fighting, and there's a lot more widows and fatherless families. So this is something that we continue to support, and it's really going quite well. Again, because we have a very strong workforce, because we're connected to all these churches who are already doing the work. So if we can get more funds to them, they can reach more people and bless more people. And and as a result of this, many of these people are coming to faith in Christ.
I love it. Great stuff.
So it's a pretty efficient model. We wouldn't be able to send Western missionaries into Russia now if we wanted to, but in this case, we've got a really strong and a vibrant workforce doing the work for us, and they just send the reports back to us.
Yeah, you got the grassroots there, which is the most important thing to be able to help boots on the ground at that time. If people want more information, you can go to sga.org, SGA for the Slavic Gospel Association, the sga.org. Michael, we appreciate the time very much, my friend. Thank you for what you guys are doing out there. Keep up this fight. It is so sad to see the situation going on, but hopefully we can see a turnaround relatively soon, and you guys are doing some great work. So thank you for it. Let's get you back on for another update soon, my friend.
Thanks. Great. Will do. Thank you.
You bet. Appreciate it very much. Again, Michael Johnson, president of the Slavic Gospel Association, sga.org. is that website. We're back at it tomorrow. Government shutdown continues. We'll get to that tomorrow. Also, will we see the ceasefire and the peace in the Middle East continue? Historic times we're living in, my friends. We'll break it all down for you. Until then, be your own voice of reason. Be that catalyst for change in your own community. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hoosier. We'll see you on the radio. Bye.